Okay, I might just speak like this then. Okay, cool. So before we get started on the presentation, I want everyone to grab one of these little pieces of paper that's in front of you and grab a pen. I'm going to have you guys do a little homework exercise here. We're going to review it at the end here, or kind of piece of paper, grab a pen. Cool, so I want you guys to take a couple minutes, and I want you to think about the 7 people who you spend the most time with. The 7 people that you spend the most time with. This could be your family members, this could be your wife, this could be your girlfriend, this could be your boyfriend, this could be your kids, this could be your fellow students. But I want you to actually take some time and think about the 7 people that you spend the most time with. Your dogs count. Your dogs count, absolutely. All right, I'll give you guys just a couple more seconds here. Okay, cool. So let's kick this off. Does everybody have enough coffee for how early it is this morning? Maybe this isn't early for you guys. You guys are hard workers, so that's good. Today I'm here. I'm super excited to talk a little bit about my journey through going to school and starting now multiple different businesses. But how really this idea of being an entrepreneur, or this mindset of entrepreneurship, has kind of allowed me to get through life up to this point and really have fun, and also kind of live out my passions and my dreams. And I want to help you guys today. If there's one thing that you take away from what I'm bringing here today, it's that you guys are able to accomplish and achieve the dreams and the types of things that you guys are hoping you want to do or wishing that you want to do after school or during school a little bit easier with a couple of these things that I've learned along the way. So I'm excited to kick it off, releasing your inner entrepreneur. So first off, who is this guy that's standing up here? So I grew up on a small in eastern Wisconsin. I knew at an early age, after shadowing a mentor of mine who went to my church and was an architect, that I wanted to become an architect. I knew after shadowing him for just a couple of hours one day that that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to design and draw buildings and get out there and go build buildings. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So I decided to go to the University of Minnesota for architecture. I was either going to go to the U of M or Milwaukee, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to the U of M because not a lot of my high school friends are going there, and I kind of want something new. So I went to the University of Minnesota, and I worked really, really hard to pay for college, and I was working 3 jobs at the time to pay for college, and one of them was at Cunningham Group, where I basically made models from about 12 o'clock at night till about 2 o'clock in the morning. How many of you guys know what a laser cutter is? Okay, pretty much, that's awesome. Typically, people don't know what laser cutters are. That's awesome. So what I would do late at night, after working my previous job to that, I would go there and I'd cut out these little pieces and I'd assemble different models. Well, one night, as I was done with cheer practice, I was rollerblading over to Cunningham because I didn't have a car, couldn't afford a car, and I wiped out and just totally shattered my iPhone 4. How many of you guys have had an iPhone 4? Okay, glass on the front, glass on the back. It was like sticking glass shards in your face every time you had to answer the phone. So I said, oh, whatever, I'm going to cut out a little wood sticker, and I'm going to stick it on the front, I'm going to stick it on the back. There was no vision of starting, a multi-million-dollar company or planting millions of trees on multiple different continents. There was no dream of that. I literally just didn't want to stab my face with glass, okay? So wasn't planning on becoming an entrepreneur, none of this stuff. But I started showing it to buddies, and they'd say, hey, dude, I'll give you a case of beer for that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll make you one of these things. It cost me like 20 cents to make them, right? Or hey, I'll give you 20 bucks for that. Oh, wow, this is like a really good deal. So I started cutting out these little, skins at Cunningham Group at, after hours with my own material, by the way. So, and I started selling them to buddies here and there. Well, pretty soon, I had sold about 10 or 15 of these things. And I'm thinking, oh man, this could be a business, after 10 or 15 of them. So I went to my mentors, and this is right about the time that I was going to go to grad school. And again, my dream had always been to go to grad school, to go become an architect full-time. And I sat down with my two mentors right after I had heard that I had actually got 2 full-ride scholarships to go to grad school. So my dream, first off, I wouldn't have been able to afford it prior to that if I wouldn't have got full-ride scholarships, but I had applied to 2 different schools, MIT and Colorado, and I got 2 full-ride scholarships. So I'm thinking, oh, this is pretty good. I'm going to go to grad school. This is awesome. Well, it started kind of churning my mind. Well, maybe I should start this business instead. I'd sold 15 units for either a case of beer, 20 bucks, and I might be an entrepreneur. So I sat down with my 2 mentors, John Cunningham, the founder of Cunningham Group. How many of you guys know Cunningham Group? International, incredible architecture firm, insanely incredible. And David Washburn, who started Valcucine here, actually, which is in the International Market Square, really close. So I sat down with these 2 guys, and I said, hey, should I start this business, or should I go to grad school? And both of them knew that I had a full ride to go to grad school. And both of them, without hesitation, said, go start the business. You're going to learn more in those 2 years of business than you will going to grad school. And they said, you can always go back to grad school. I said, okay, not what I was expecting out of you guys, but okay. So, and I trusted these guys with my life, so I said, okay, cool. I'm going to turn down these scholarships, and I'm going to go start this business. Well, I told my mom, and she almost killed me. But after I made it through that, I had started this business. A couple weeks after that, I hit up one of my buddies, Kevin, who also knew nothing about business. So I was an architecture major, and at the University of Minnesota, what we do is we draw shapes, squares, triangles, and that's pretty much the extent. No, I'm just kidding. And Kevin, who was my buddy, who I started it with, was a kinesiology major. So neither one of us, how many of you guys know what an invoice is? Okay, we didn't know what an invoice was. We didn't know what a profit and loss statement was. We didn't know what an income statement was. We didn't know, we literally knew nothing about business. But we said, hey, we want to start selling these wood phone cases. So we started going store to store and kind of peddling these things. We'd sell 10 or 15 units here. We'd sell 20 or 30 units there. And eventually we had a pretty decent little business. Well, we sat down one day and we watched a Simon Sinek TED Talk called Great Leaders Inspire Action. And the premise of the talk was people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And we said, well, we don't really want to just make wood phone cases, the rest of our lives. We are both really passionate about putting nature back into people's lives and bringing jobs back to the U.S. So we said, let's set that as our mission. Let's set that up as our mission. So we did. Our mission, and still to this day, is how do we put nature back into people's lives, and how do we bring jobs back to the U.S.? Well, shortly after kind of solidifying that mission, we ended up getting into all 1,800 Target stores. So this is about 6 months probably into deciding we wanted to do this. Again, we had no money. We got into all these Target stores. So Target said, okay, you guys got to make 60,000 units. And we said, holy, I don't think I can swear in this, right, Brian? Yeah, okay. But you can imagine what was going through our head there. We had made about 15 or 20 units up until that date. So this was a lot of things to make. So we decided to do it. We went back to friends and family. And again, I grew up on a farm, didn't come from a long line of entrepreneurs with money or anything like that. So we went back to friends and family, and we would raise, a $2,000 or take a $2,000 loan from grandma and grandpa, $2,000 loan from the aunt and uncle, literally friends and family. So we did that. We got about $30,000, enough to pay for the packaging that went into Target stores, and we launched. We launched in all 1,800 Target stores. Well, what we didn't realize was that we had signed up for consignment. Do you guys know what consignment is? How many of you guys know what consignment is? We didn't either at the time. Consignment means you make all the product, you pay for the product, obviously you got to pay to make it, and then if it sells in the stores, then they will pay you in like 120 days, or maybe a year or something like that. Well, we had made all these units with our friends and family's money, expecting we're going to be billionaires, We shipped all this product. We should go buy a yacht. We should probably go buy a plane right now for how many units we just made. Well, we didn't realize we didn't get paid until they sold. So we're like, oh, okay. Well, these things are going to sell. These things will for sure sell. Well, we're sitting there waiting on our sell-through report, which is the report each week that comes through and says how many units we sold. Well, so we're waiting there patiently and sitting by our computer, waiting for it to come through. And sure enough, there it comes through. So we hop on our computer, click on the old sell-through report, and scroll down to total units sold in all 1,800 stores. And, we're expecting we sold at least 5,000 of these things. 5 each store. Okay, yeah, that's probably what we did. Well, we scrolled down, and the number said 7. 7 units over the entire week in 1,800 stores. We were thinking, this has got to be a mistake. I think more than 7 of these things would have accidentally fallen into people's carts than that. Well, they didn't, and it was actually 7. So we said, the word I'm not going to say for the camera. Well, we waited the next week, and sure enough, it was about the same. I think we sold about 10 units that next week, and we said, well, this is not good. So we had to figure out what we were going to do. A couple weeks later, Target said, hey, you guys have to take all this product back now and figure out what to do with it. So we did. We had about 55,900 units left. And we decided, well, we could either shut down right now, which was probably the logical thing to do at the time, but that's not what we decided to do. If we would have said, hey, we want to make wood phone cases, and wood phone cases is our business, we should have and would have shut it down there, because we clearly weren't successful at doing that. But our mission was nature back to people, jobs back to America. So we said, how do we sell these units, and how do we keep this thing going? Because our mission wasn't selling these units, it was nature back to people and jobs back to America. So we got to figure this out. And we got $30,000 of our friends and family's money, and that makes for some pretty awkward Thanksgivings if we don't pay them back. So a couple weeks later, we had a guy from Red Bull, who's now one of my best friends, hit us up. His name's Matt Christensen, and say, hey guys, these things are pretty cool. Can you put a logo on the back, and can you put our athletes' names on like 15 of these things, and can you have them to California by tomorrow? And we were thinking, we don't have anything else to do, so sure. So we did. We put the names on. We flew over to California the next day to deliver them, and he's like, man, these are really cool. We have an event next week for about 250 people. Can you guys do these for our event next week? And we said, absolutely, sure, we'll be there. So we did, and we started to realize, wait, this whole kind of customizing thing, which is totally in our wheelhouse, obviously with these lasers, we're able to get paid on time up front. They'll buy them for full price, not pennies on the dollar like Target does. And they buy a handful of units at a time, 250, 300, whatever. So the company started to evolve, and we realized corporate gifting was where we needed to take this thing. So Woodchuck starts to evolve. So that was in 2012 when we first started, up and through kind of now. I'll give you a quick snapshot. So we started doing that. We started building out our manufacturing. We now have almost 50 employees in Northeast Minneapolis. We make everything in Minneapolis. And about 2 years ago, with that idea in mind of how do we connect people with nature, again, because our focus was always how do we connect people to nature and how do we create jobs in America, not how many wood products do we make, we came up with buy one, plant one. Now, we're all familiar with one-for-one models, right? Everyone know one-for-one models? Yeah, you buy one, you get one. Well, for a couple of years, I was pretty skeptical on doing a one-for-one model because there were a lot of one-for-one models out there, and I said, yeah, it's kind of cliche. Well, the fact of the matter is, it is a little cliche, and it's cliche because it works. The best thing I think about marketing, the best saying I have about marketing is if a fifth grader can understand it and repeat it, or if your drunk buddy can understand it at the bar and remember it the next day, that's a good marketing strategy. So buy one, plant one, we initiated about 2 years ago, and we plant a tree for every single product that we sell. It's pretty simple. Again, fifth graders understand it, and my drunk buddies understood it, so it was good. We've now planted about 2 million trees on 6 different continents, and we decided, early on that, hey, we want to have a global impact. We want to be this little Minnesota company that can have a global impact with our ideas, not just, plant trees here in Minnesota or plant trees here in the Midwest, but that we as a little Minnesota company dedicated to putting nature back into people's lives could have a global impact. And sure enough, about a year after we started that program, we had reached all 6 continents, and we did technically go to Antarctica and try to plant a tree there, but they really got pissed off. And we didn't end up being able to do that, but we did try, so we at least tried there. Well, anyway, so kind of traveling around and getting to go to all these incredible places, I met some absolutely incredible people along the way. I met people at one of our planting sites in Madagascar that had this incredible, incredible idea for water purification. I met people in Saudi Arabia that had incredible ideas for energy harvesting. People all around the world had these incredible ideas, and even back here, in Minnesota, I'd meet up with people that wanted to start their own businesses and realize, holy crap, people have such incredible ideas. Why aren't they doing these ideas? Why aren't they doing them? And I started to realize there was kind of 3 common misconceptions that people had about starting businesses. How many of you guys in here have either started a business or thought about starting a business? Okay, a little over half of you. Well, a lot of the common misconceptions around the idea of starting a business is, I need to be a millionaire. I need to have a ton of money to start a business. And I knew that wasn't true because I started out with no money and didn't have any money for the first 4 years. The second thing I realized was a lot of people thought you needed to have a business degree or you needed to go to Harvard for business in order to start a business or in order to be an entrepreneur. And I knew that wasn't true because I drew shapes before starting a business. And then the final thing I realized was that there was just this general idea of failure or of what failure was or that failure actually existed. And that was the third thing kind of holding people up from going and starting these ideas. And what I started to play through my mind was, holy crap, what if people actually started their ideas? What if people actually tried their ideas? This world would be completely different. These tables you're sitting at would be completely different. These chairs would be engineered completely different. I probably wouldn't have to have 2 different cords on me right now to be speaking. We wouldn't have to have tripod stands. We could have wireless everything. The world that we're living in would be different if everyone at least tried their idea or felt like they could try it. So I decided, I'm going to write a book on this. I want to help people start their ideas. And after kind of realizing this and writing this book, this kind of became one of my new missions, helping other people break through these barriers that they have in their own heads so they can start their own businesses, so we can live in a better world tomorrow, so my kids' kids, and all of our kids' kids' kids can live in a better world because we at least tried our ideas. So that's what I decided to do. I wrote a book. And it's called The World Needs Your Effing Ideas. And I'm not going to say the F word here. But how to start a business that'll save the universe. So we launched this book about 6 months ago, I think about 6 months ago. We got 7 different Amazon bestseller lists within the first couple days, and we actually just got published in China. The book is one thing, but I love speaking to people. I really love speaking to people and helping them kind of break through these barriers. So I'm going to touch on a couple of things today, and actually, how are we doing on time? Okay, I'm going to speed this up a little bit because we got a couple of activities, and I'm going to try and jump into them here. There's a couple things I talk about in the book, and if you guys want to dive deeper into any of these concepts, check out the book. If you like audiobooks, I like audiobooks. I barely ever read. I know that's super uncommon. A lot of entrepreneurs, I read 16 books a day. No, I literally listen to like one audiobook a month or something like that. But it's on audiobook too if you want. It's on Kindle. But check out the book if you want to dive deeper into any of these concepts. But I'm going to talk about a couple different things, and I'll show you an example of it on here. And it's something I developed to kind of break down these different chunks in the book. And it's called Mere Motivation. Okay, first, before I go into that, though, I want to talk quick on failure, and then we'll jump into that. I love this quote about failure. One of the biggest things, and like I said, the kind of third common misconception, was this idea of failure, and the idea of failure being a final thing, or the idea of failure being the end, as opposed to just kind of a blockade to move in a different direction. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. This is my favorite part of the quote. Failure is not fatal. No matter what happens, as long as you have a mission, as long as you have a vision, like we had a vision to put nature back into people's lives, you just move in a different direction. When we ran into a huge roadblock with not selling any of these units to Target, we didn't say, okay, we're done. I got to go work at McDonald's. We said, okay, we got to go in a different direction. This one doesn't work. Mass retail for our product and our mission and our idea and our vision doesn't work. So we got to go in this direction. And that direction is working pretty good. It was this idea that it's changing. It's taking a step in a different direction as opposed to it being final. It's the courage to continue that counts. So here's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to chunk this out, and because we don't have these cards here, I'm going to have you guys do a couple of these on your piece of paper. But I developed this little mere motivation to go along, and you can't see it super well, but to go along with the concepts in the book. And I break it out into a couple different things. The first part is your why. So the idea of this card is that you're putting it somewhere, and you guys can just write this down on a piece of paper. If you buy the book, it's included in the book. But you can put this, you should put this on your mirror, you should put this on your desktop, you should put this somewhere where you're going to see it on a daily basis. Because I'll explain that in a minute and why you should see it on a daily basis. The first thing that you should have on here is your own personal why. Why are you doing what you're doing on a daily basis? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you sitting here right now? Why are you going to school? Why are you working? Why are you in a relationship? Why are you doing what you're doing? Where do you want to be 15 years from now, 20 years from now? What is your why? I'll tell you my personal why. I truly, for whatever reason, I truly have a passion to reforest the planet. That's one of my whys. I want to reforest the planet, and I want to help other people start businesses. Those are two of my kind of business whys. One of my personal whys is I want to be the best father and husband on the planet. I'm not married and I don't have kids, but that's just something I feel, and that's something I want to be eventually. That's my personal why. That's what I have written down on my mere motivation card. My conscious circle. We're going to dive into this after. I'm going to use this for the last one because this is the first exercise we're going to do. My annual goals. How many of you guys have annual goals? Okay, about a quarter of you. How many of those who have annual goals write down your annual goals? Have them written down right now. Okay, about 10 of you. How many of you that have them written down right now see them at least once a day? One person. Anybody else? Two people. Okay, so two people out of this entire room. Now think about this. This is a really basic concept. This isn't like rocket science. This isn't, electrical engineering, which is way too complicated for me. This is super basic. What you want to do and accomplish this year, only two people in this entire room are looking at least once a day. How do you think that would change your day if you were looking at your goals at least once a day? Do you think you'd maybe try and take another stab at your goals? Do you think you'd maybe take another step at your goals at least once a day? I think you would. I know you would, because I know this works. So writing down your annual goals. And then the last part of this card is the one thing. So the second thing I want you to take out of this exercise that we're going to do right after this, if you only take out, two things, one of them is going to be this exercise we're doing. The other thing is this concept or the idea of the one thing. What is one thing that you guys can do today, literally right after this, within the 60 minutes after I'm done speaking, to get one step closer to your goals, to get one step closer to your dreams? What's the one thing? It might be making a phone call. It might be sending a text message. Hey, I really want this job. How are you going to get there? Send an email to the person who runs the company. Hey, I might want to be in better shape. What's the one thing you're going to do right after this? Maybe go work out. I don't know. Do you guys got a gym here? If not, go get a gym membership. What's the one thing you're going to do after this? It doesn't have to be big. It does not have to be big. It has to be small. And you have to take a small step every day. And you're only going to take a small step every day if you're looking at it every day. Because look, everybody's busy. Everybody's got stuff going on in their lives. We've got families. We've got crap going on at work. We got a boss that sucks. We got schoolwork we got to do, right? Everyone's got stuff going on. Everyone's got excuses. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing that you're doing every day. It can be a simple thing. One thing. So I already told you guys my why. I'm going to kind of cruise through this a little bit. Okay, conscious circle. I had you guys write down, okay, we're good on time now. I had you guys write down, prior to starting this, the 7 people who you spend the most amount of time with. How many of you guys have heard, you are who you surround yourself with, or you are the accumulation of the 10 people you surround yourself with? Raise your hand if you've ever heard that before. Pretty much everybody in the entire room, because our parents always tell us that, right? It's true, okay? It's true. The thing that we don't talk about a lot, and that I really address and dive deep into the book that I realized, was that we have the ability, this is one of the things that we have complete control over, is who we surround ourselves with. But a lot of times we don't think about it like that. We think about it like, oh, my family's my family, and my friends are my friends, and I'm hanging out with these people at school because these are the people I hang out with at school. But we don't think about the fact that we have complete control over this. We have complete control over who we spend our time with, who we're talking with, and ultimately who we become. Because those people that you're spending time with, that you're hanging out with, are who you will become. You want to look and see what you're going to be like in 5 years? It's a collection of these people. And I started to realize that in the first year or two that I started business, and how I started to realize that, and realize that I had the choice, and I could pick, and I could choose what my future is going to look like, because I met these 2 people in California. I met Ken Rakowski, who's one of my most incredible mentors, has helped me through so much in business and in personal life. And I met Nancy, who's one of my best friends. About a year into starting the business, I started to realize that I was kind of hitting a ceiling with connections or who I knew or how I could continue to grow this in my own personal kind of mental limitations. And I got on a business podcast in California called Business Rockstars, and I think this is like 5 years ago or something, 5 or 6 years ago. And I got on a business podcast with Ken, and he had this contagious energy, and I just said, man, I want to be like that guy. This guy's had started 15 plus companies, sold successfully, just had a really positive energy, was an incredible, incredible guy. Man, I really want to be more like him. I obviously didn't live in California. I lived here in Minnesota. Our manufacturing was here in Minnesota. And he introduced me to Nancy, who's now one of my best friends. And Nancy also had started multiple different companies, was the same age as me, but thought completely different about situations and circumstances. So I spent a little bit of time with these guys the first time that I was out there, and I realized, man, if I want to be more like these people, just like my parents told me, I need to spend more time with them. I'm going to call them on the phone. I'm going to try and hang out with them more. Well, I didn't have any money, but every time I'd get 70 bucks, I bought a Sun Country airline ticket, because at the time they were 70 bucks, and I flew out to California, and I'd crash on a buddy's couch for a day or two, and I'd just spend time with these people. I'd say, hey, do you want to grab lunch? I'm in town. I wasn't actually in town. I flew out literally to hang out with them. But I said, hey, I'm in town. You want to grab lunch? Business is rocking, let's grab lunch. Let's hang out. Let's go to dinner. I want to learn from you guys. I didn't actually say that. I just said, do you want to hang out? And I ended up befriending Nancy, now who's one of my literally best friends. She gave the inaugural speech at my book launch. And Ken, who is literally one of my closest mentors, I talk with him probably 3 times a week. And I started thinking more like these people. Again, I didn't have a bunch of money. I didn't have money to be flying out there. But every time I had 70 bucks, I realized I wanted to be more like these people. So I spent time with them. And I made a proactive approach to put these people into what I call my conscious circle. I call it a conscious circle, not just a circle, because I'm conscious about who I'm surrounding myself with. It's really, really, really easy to just have a circle. These are the people that you're around. These are the people that you end up hanging out with. It's really easy to have a circle. It's more difficult to have a conscious circle. And the fact of the matter is, you are in control of your conscious circle. So I had you guys write down at the beginning of this the 7 people you spend the most time with. Now, I'm not saying you got to blow up the people that you spend time with. I'm not saying you got to cut your, wife out of your life and get it. I'm not saying that. I am not advocating for that, okay? Just want to be super clear about that. But what I am saying is I want you to take a look after this, and this can be one thing for everybody. Take a look at who you want to become. Take a look at who might be a little closer in your circle, or someone that's not even close, and I'll give you an example of my conscious circle here in a minute, of who you need to be hanging around with, who you need to be spending more time with. When you have free time on a Friday afternoon, who are you going to hit up? Are you going to hit up your buddies, the people you're just spending time with, or are you going to hit up someone and go grab coffee with someone that you want to be like, that you want to learn from? I'll give you guys an example of my conscious circle here quick, and how not rocket science this can be. So my conscious circle, I actually have one of my best friends, high school buddies, went to the Air Force, Brandon, who's in the upper right. Brandon's in my conscious circle. Brandon is the smartest person I've ever met in my entire life. He's an astrophysicist for the Air Force, and then decided to take 6 months off to train for the Olympics, and is going to go wrestle in the Olympics now, just because he can do that. Which I think is awesome. He's an incredible guy. The reason why he's in my conscious circle is sometimes I have a hard time pushing myself physically and mentally to the next level, and Brandon's always able to do that. He's always able to just blow through any type of barriers or whatever that I have, or personal limitations that I have, and we're able to just do insane stuff. One of the chapters in the book talks about a time when we summited Mount Rainier. How many of you guys know what Mount Rainier is, or where it is? How many of you guys have summited Mount Rainier? Anybody? Summited? Was it pretty easy? Okay, yeah. So I had never before done any kind of climbing, any kind of mountaineering, but Brandon and his buddies did it all the time. They lived in Colorado. So he hit me up a week before, and he goes, hey, we're going to go climb Mount Rainier. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll do the stair stepper for a week. So that's literally what I did. I did the stair stepper for a week. And for those of you who don't know, Mount Rainier is absolutely beautiful, but seriously the most insane and physically and mentally challenging thing that I've ever done still in my life. And I talk about it way deeper in the book. But Brandon was able to completely push me past my barriers. About 1/10 of the way up the mountain, I was already ready to quit, 100% ready to quit. I felt like I was going to die. My entire body was just absolutely burning and starting to shut down. And I ended up being able to summit with the help of Brandon in his kind of mental guidance and pushing me up the mountain. And I get way deeper into it, but I was like ready to die halfway through, and I was like, hey, if I die in the mountain, at least I'm gonna attempt it. I'm not gonna shut it down. You guys can dive deeper into that, but that's why Brandon's in my circle. The next person in my circle, some of you guys might recognize, this is Chuck Runyon. How many of you guys know Anytime Fitness? Okay, handful of you guys, yeah. Chuck runs Anytime Fitness. I didn't know Chuck 2 months ago, at least personally. I hit him up on Instagram because I knew he was an author, I knew he was an awesome CEO, and I knew he was a dad. And those are all 3 things that I wanted to become and learn more about because I had never written a book before. I hadn't done a lot of public speaking before. So I hit him up. I said, hey, man, I need a mentor for speaking. Can you be my mentor? I really look up to you. And he goes, sure, let's meet up next week. It was literally that easy. You know, again, I don't know him super well. I've now hung out with him 3 different times and have gained incredible insights that have kind of set me forward probably 3 or 4 years in the speaking world and in the book writing world from the 3 times that I met up with this guy. Incredible. Nancy, who I talked a little bit about already, Ken Rakowski, who I talked a little bit about. I'm going to tell a quick story about Ken here. This is about 4 years into starting the business. And I was out in California for an actual work trip, not just pretending like I was out there for a work trip. And I had gotten my first lawsuit. And I remember just being completely shut down and completely devastated because where I grew up, if you got sued, meant you're a terrible person. And I didn't even really know what a lawsuit was, but I just knew that most people that got sued ended up either going to jail or something like that or paying a bunch of money. And that's all I really knew about it. Well, I got sued for $1.5 million 4 years into starting the company. And that amount of money to me at the time was the most insane thing ever. And I'm thinking, you know, holy crap, the only people that have $1.5 million is like Bill Gates and like Richard Branson. Like, how am I, what's this? Like, I'm done. I'm going to have to go, you know, Go start working back in my hometown again. Live with my parents. That's what I'm thinking. That's the mindset that I'm in. And I specifically remember exactly actually where I was. I was standing outside of a liquor store. I hadn't gotten anything to drink yet, but I was about to go into it. And I had my head up against this rusty sign, and I remember just calling Ken. I said, Ken, man, I just got my first lawsuit, and dude, I'm screwed. I'm screwed. It's for $1.5 million. I'm done, man. I'm going to have to shut the business down. I don't know what to do. And Ken said, Ben, congratulations. And I said, Ken, did you hear me okay? And I'm thinking he just got back from like Burning Man or he's maybe on some drugs or something. I said, Ken, dude, did you hear me? I just got sued for $1.5 million. And he goes, no, yeah, Ben, I heard you all right. Congratulations. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? He said, congratulations. Most billionaires are dealing with, on average, about 15 lawsuits at the same time. He said, congratulations, you're one step closer. You've made it to the next level. You got sued for the first time. And with one conversation, Ken was able to completely change my mindset. Completely change with one conversation. I went from, I'm going to be having to go back to my hometown and living in mom and dad's basement for the next couple of years to, I'm going to be a billionaire. Pretty incredible transformation. Another person, Rob Swan, that's the guy I traveled to Antarctica with to try to plant a tree. My girlfriend Zoe, and then Abdullah down there from Saudi Arabia. So, pretty simple concept, right? This is my conscious circle. This is what I look at every single day. I'm going to try and wrap this up because Clara said I got to wrap this up. This is my conscious circle. This is what I look at every day. Again, if there's one thing that you guys take from this, if you want to dive deeper, again, get the book. You'll get this conscious circle in it, but it doesn't have to even be this complicated. It doesn't have to be a fancy little printed thing. This can be a piece of paper that you guys write down on. Take a picture of this if you want. Write down what your why is. Check in with this daily, and I will guarantee you, I will absolutely guarantee you guys that this will change your life. Checking in with your goals daily and deciding to take one small step every single day. The thing about one small step every single day, even if it's in the wrong direction, is an incredible thing. If you say, hey, I want to start a business. Okay, I want to start a business in, electrical engineering. I'm going to start a business. What am I going to do today to start that? Well, I have no idea how to start a business, so I'm going to call someone or I'm going to text someone who has a business. That's going to be my first step today. It doesn't have to be big. I just sent a text. Everyone sends like 100 texts a day. Just send a text to someone that's like related to starting a business, okay? Maybe tomorrow, do some research online. Look up a couple things online. How do you start a business or something? I don't know. These don't have to be big things, but check in with it daily. Did I do one thing today? And what is going to happen and what will happen is you're going to fail multiple different times. You're going to run into walls multiple different times. But rather than stopping when you hit the wall, you're just going to step in a different direction. Hey, that direction wasn't right. I tried to, charge someone for a project, and they said, go F off. Okay, we're going to go in this direction, It's that simple. You just got to step in a different direction. And that's the thing about taking one step every day. It's not failure. It's just realizing that that wasn't the right step, and it's confirming that moving in a different direction is the right step. So I challenge each of you after this, within the next hour, to do one thing. Write down your goals. Write down your why. You don't have to do all this today, but write them down and take one step after this towards one of those goals that you guys have been dreaming about, thinking about, wanting to do after this. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'll be here for a little while after if anyone has questions, but thank you. And